Okay, so this is the Aviva functionality map, starting with WooCommerce, Salesforce, and Make. These are the three primary softwares we're using. Make is an automation tool that passes data back and forth between many hundred software versions. So we're using Salesforce Classic. We have the two separate databases, as you know, leads on one side and accounts with sub-objects of contacts, opportunities we're using to place orders, and transactions, which are the payment types as children of the opportunities. In addition, we have a few plugins that are worth noting. We have a duplicate blocker to try to prevent multiple additional leads. We use SMS Magic, which is a texting tool that makes it very convenient for us to communicate with prospects and customers. And we're using GoCloud's bundles, which allows us to use one click to add multiple products that are bundled together. On the Woo side, we have several pieces of functionality worth noting. One is a plugin called LearnDash, which we use for our online learning. So we do training for spray tan business startup training. We do a lot of it in person in different cities around the US, but we also have an online learning program. So LearnDash lets us put the online training behind a paywall. Digital products, so we can do checkout. The customer can buy the product and the training, and they immediately have access to it. Then we're using Wholesale Pro Suites, which is a plugin that gives us user roles, so we can put customers in specific roles that give different functionality access. For example, we can set price tiers by role, so a super distributor might have a larger discount, for example. We could do discounts by roles. We can even do it by users if we want to get that segmented. Payment options can be controlled by roles, the shipping options by role. And we can do something really interesting of allowing only certain products to be visible to certain roles, or we can bundle those products into a category and only the category can be visible right by role. So when we do private label manufacturing, where we are, it's one of our business models, we manufacture for a specific customer's brand, and we don't want anyone else to be able to access those products except for her. So we put her in a role, we put her custom products visible only to her, but no one else. Digital products is just a relisting from above. We also have a FedEx and USPS real-time shipping calculator plugin, so it will look at the weight and dimensions of all the items in the order and spit out a price for the customer. And for production, they're able to print the shipping label directly from WooCommerce. They don't have to come over to Salesforce or anything like that. We have a few different payment options, credit card for obviously Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express. We have PayPal if customers want to use that option. We have Affirm for the pay by four payment option. And then we interestingly have a no pay checkout option, which allows customers like some of these private label customers are only able to pay later by they mail us a check or they pay by ACH. We have some international customers who pay by wire transfer. So it's not one of these first three options, but they still want to be able to use the shopping cart and complete their order. So this actually lets them complete the order as an approved order. It's actually an option they select when they go through the payment option. But we only want those customers to have it. We obviously don't want an average salon to have that, or they might put in the order and then select that by mistake, and then we have to chase them down to get payment. Next, what I want to say is we also have Shop as Customer. So if a customer doesn't want to place the order themselves, as admins, we can log into their account and place the order using their credit card securely. We don't see their credit card number or anything like that, but we can place the order on their behalf. We also have a couple more pieces in Salesforce. We use Jotform as our web to lead. It's the equivalent of Salesforce web to lead, but it's prettier. It lets us format the phone numbers and things like that. Then we also use Broadly. So in the bottom right-hand corner of our website, there's the ability for any visitor to the website to chat with customer service if they want to. So that's a really convenient way to do it. This has nothing to do with Salesforce. It just has a separate window. It opens up internally for us that we go into Broadly and we can type chats back and forth, and it makes it really convenient for the customers or the prospects because most of them are operating on their cell phones. In addition, we work on Eventbrite, which is a promotional site that you can list classes or meetings or events, that sort of thing. And they have a really good search engine tool. That's where our online classes are, our in-person classes, that's the store that we use for it. If we do put the order manually into Salesforce, meaning the order was not placed in Woo, we need a way to charge their credit card. So we separately log into PayPal or Authorize.net. Similarly, if the order was placed in Salesforce, we need a way to generate the shipping label. So we have FedEx software that does that. We have been paying for MailChimp for many months, but we have not sent out our first nurturing email yet. That's the plan. And then finally, we use QuickBooks as our accounting, and we have a complicated Excel fancy macro software program that I wrote in Excel that basically we have to match all the transactions here in Salesforce and make sure they do match what we receive to the bank. And so we need a way to tell when they don't match up. How do we fix Salesforce to match it up? And then finally, that's put into QuickBooks once a month, and then that's how we keep our accounting done. So here's how the process actually works. It's a closed cart. We have AdWords as our lead source. And as I mentioned, Woo is a closed cart. We have two types of prospects coming to our site. ATs, which are already tanners, meaning they already have a spray tanning business, but they're using competitors' products. And they want to sample our products, our Sunless solutions, and try them. And then hopefully start buying the recurring Sunless solutions. Then we have the NTs, which is the biggest part of our business. It's the not new to tanning. So this is a woman who wants to start a spray tanning business, but before she starts, she needs to buy training. She needs to attend the training. Then she needs to buy a starter package, which is spray equipment and a starter supply of liquids. And then finally, she'll be a recurring residual customer of our spray tan liquids once she's up and running. So when they come into the shopping cart, they go to the respective landing page, they fill out a Jot form, and that Jot form, it does not take them into Woo, but it actually brings them over to Salesforce as Sierra's lead. Now, Sierra handles 100% of leads, not just because she's my only sales rep, but what I mean by that is every single lead that comes to our system, they do not come over here to Woo and start buying because we have a closed cart. They have to get processed by Sierra. So Sierra's thumbprint is on every single lead that comes into the company. She uses SMS Magic, as I mentioned, the texting tool. It gets used tremendously for contacting customers, and she can have multiple chats going on at once, that sort of thing. SMS Magic is also pretty convenient because on our website, we have a phone number in the upper right-hand corner. If the prospect who's on their cell phone texts that number, SMS Magic will actually create a lead in Salesforce for Sierra. The other way that leads come in is they may find us through Eventbrite. They may search spray tan training in Miami, or starting a spray tan business in Miami, and Eventbrite pops up, or our Miami in-person class shows up on Eventbrite. So they have a couple options. One is it says the price is $3.99. It also says in the text that you can get a $50 discount if you contact Sierra. So we're using this as a sales crutch. Hopefully, the idea is that if Sierra speaks with them, she can really sell them on why they want our training versus someone else, or why now instead of waiting, and therefore giving away $50 is worth it to do that. Unfortunately, by buying on Eventbrite, there's $30 to $50 in fees and taxes that they have to pay. Whereas if they buy direct through Sierra, they won't have to do that. But most of the time, they are buying through Eventbrite. So when Sierra, they usually contact Sierra, she gives them the discount code for $50, and then they place their order, their order for that. Now, she also has the ability to, so then what happens is when they place that order, Make.com senses that there's a new order in Eventbrite, and it has to bring it over to Salesforce because we need the order in here and everybody needs to get notified. But what it's got to figure out is, are they already a contact? Like Sierra convert this lead into a contact? Are they already do they exist in Salesforce yet? Are they a lead because Sierra was talking to them? Or maybe they just came in here and they just bought without even talking to Sierra, in which case it needs to create a new lead, it needs to convert it, and then under the contact, it needs to put the opportunity. So it's a pretty complicated thing it's got to look at here, especially because it's looking at the email that they used first and then the phone number if it doesn't find a match. But it's kind of tricky because our customers change emails like they do shirts. So they might have started with over here with a personal email, and then they said, you know what, I think I am going to start a business. So they switch to a business email. So it doesn't find them. It creates them as a new lead, converts them as a contact. Sierra's got to go clean that up. So that it's kind of a mess there. Sierra also has the ability to just manually create the order. So she can bypass Eventbrite if she wants to, or if the customer wants to buy immediately. She might use that fees as a, extra discount if you order through me, because then it's $349 even with no fees. So she would come right over, create him as a contact, place the opportunity. But now she's got to charge their credit card or PayPal if they have it. So she's got to go log into one of these. It's a separate website with her credentials, and then she puts in the customer information and takes a credit card over the phone, whatever, and places the order. So now let's look at the AT path. So they want samples. So they come in here, they show up in Sierra's lead as wanting samples, and let's say that they're ready to buy immediately. Okay, a couple paths here. So she could, or let's say that they are not sure if they want to buy yet or not, but they think they're going to. She can go ahead and give them shopping cart access, but again, it's at her discretion. It goes through her. So first, she would convert them from a lead to a contact. Then in Salesforce, we have make automation connected to it, where directly from the contact, she can say, I want to create the Woo account, and make automatically goes over. It creates the Woo user account, gets a Woo ID, and brings that back to the contact. So what's great about the Woo ID is that it can't be changed by the user like an email can or a phone number. So it's a solid identifier that will work forever between these. So later, if the user places an order, it will it will sync properly back with the contact. Sierra also has the ability to go ahead, if the customer wants the samples right away, we have a special where they get the 4 samples for free. They just pay $10 for shipping. So she needs the ability to put in an order in Salesforce, which 4 samples does she want? And obviously she's going to need to charge the card as well. So she'll do that. But now that she's put in this order manually here, FedEx shipping is going to have to ship it directly out of Salesforce instead of Woo. So at this point, they may not. If she did that, they still don't exist in Woo. So she's gonna have to add them later. Let's say if they like the samples and they come back and buy, she would do something like that. Okay, so let's say that the user that she converted them to contacts, she created them as a user, and then they actually place an order. Well, Make is watching all Woo orders, and it would see that, and it would bring it back over and place the order as it would find the right contact using the Woo ID and place an order. And then just one more note is that I mentioned that we have broadly, so customers can chat with SMS. If it's a new prospect, it would go to Sierra. So Sierra would also handle those people. And then at her discretion, she's going to try to create them as a lead manually. So she's got to do that because broadly doesn't manually create a lead. Another thing worth noting here is that, first of all, well, here are some of my issues with this is that with this close cart, Sierra spends 75% of her time on wasted clerical tasks, moving people around, giving them access, that sort of thing. Oh, what I was going to say was that it's worth noting that today, because of this closed cart system, the way we have it, we only create a Woo user if they are a contact in Salesforce. So in other words, before we ever give them access over here, we always convert the lead to a contact. So that way, if the customer places the order, Make only has to come over and they will have a Woo ID. So Make is only saying, I'm going to go find a contact that matches this Woo ID. And it will never happen that the Woo ID isn't there, or it will never happen that they're still a lead, or it will never happen that they don't even exist in Salesforce. But that's what's coming next with OpenCart. Anyhow, back to the wasted time. So Sierra's only spending 25% of time on sales, unfortunately. Then what I've observed is that she only sets follow-up tasks less than 30% of the time. So to be fair, our sale is typically a one call close. Like we're not selling a huge amount of money. It's $349 for the training class or $10 if you're looking to try samples. So, and it's a single decision maker. We don't have to go through a committee or anything like that. So usually they know if they're ready to buy right away. However, that's not a good thing that basically sales leads get lost. I think they're getting touched about 1.3 times on average, whereas I'd love to have them getting touched 10 times in 20 days, is my goal. So that means if a follow-up task isn't set, unless the prospect calls back or remembers or whatever, re-engages, then they're lost forever. Also, I've seen some accounts where the sales rep says, okay, I want to buy samples. And so they get over here and, I want to send PayPal or whatever. And it doesn't look like the PayPal links are sent to that prospect. So I don't know what happens. I guess the prospect just fades away and says, well, I guess she didn't think I was important enough, or they weren't that serious about it. I'm not sure why that happened. It's also possible for leads to fill out both AT and NT forms. Sometimes they do that. Sometimes they are over here because they don't even have spray equipment. They don't have training. So samples are going to be worthless to them, but they start poking around the website. And they're like, ooh, these samples look great. So they fill this out also. That's going to be a duplicate, which will get blocked by our duplicate manager over here in Salesforce. That was a problem we realized after a while. Sierra wasn't even seeing like this. They could have been in here as an old lead from a year ago, still haven't bought training, or maybe they went with training with another company and then they come over here and fill out a new form, but Salesforce blocks them and Sierra didn't even know that they came back in. So she's getting email notifications of each one of these in addition to seeing it in Salesforce, which is annoying. Um, Almost never phone, meaning there are two things. One, there's an over reliance on using texting or emails to contact customers. And second, um, yeah, maybe that's the only thing. It's just there's not enough time being spent on the phone, which I believe is would be more useful and a better use of time rather than trying to type out long sales text. Then because 100% of leads go through Sierra, she has a thumbprint on every single lead. She gets paid on all leads, even when no sales efforts are applied. So if the customer came in and they are ready to buy and they're going to buy no matter what, no matter who they talk to or don't talk to, she still gets commission on that. Many times all she's doing, like to these people who are looking for the classes, is she sends a blanket standard template text that says, here's the class date, here's the class time, here's your coupon, go to Eventbrite, here's the link, and they go and buy, and that's it. So she had no interaction and she automatically gets a $50 commission. So my goal is, since sales should be meaningfully helping the customer, helping the prospect get towards buying, that she should only be paid when she's making a meaningful contribution towards that. Right now, she gets paid on everything. Next, because sometimes she converts the contact and just gives them Woo shopping cart access with no assistance. But if they do, her or any purchase that's made through here is not getting tagged. It loses the Sierra tag. If it stays over here in Salesforce, all of these get tagged as her commission. But if it comes over here and then they place the order, and it comes back, it doesn't have her tag. So she's actually wasting time going through all the sales every 2 weeks sales reports and finding ones that she talked to as a lead, but that don't have this thumbprint on it, and she's adding herself onto those. So that's another time waster there. And finally, if she live charges the card, she has to log into PayPal or authorize. That's a waste of time. Okay, so what do we want to do with the open cart? Well, there are three big considerations we have to face, three challenges. First is now all the orders are going to exist inside Woo. So Woo, the Make is going to have to find them correctly in Salesforce when they don't have the Salesforce, they may not even exist in Salesforce, right? So it's going to have to create them if it can't find them. Next, it's got to sync the orders like it does today. And finally, it has to look and see if they should be promoted as they go through our sales funnel. And that's because we want to add MailChimp and we want to send the right messages. So for example, if they're a prospect who just signed up with their email, but they haven't bought any samples yet, let's say they're an AT who wants to sample and then buy. The initial prospect, we want them to sample. Then once they sample, we want them to buy the full size. And so we want to be sending the proper emails to those targets. So customers will still be able to come in if they SMS Magic or that they text the main Aviva line, they'll come in. Or if they broadly chat through our website, Sierra will pick those up, okay? But that might be maybe 10% of leads now. So she's going from 100% of leads to 10% of leads that are going to show up in her bucket. So now the leads still come in the same way, AdWords, forms, referrals, and they have a couple options. One is there will be a pop-up window that says new customers get 25% off your first orders, let's say, and all they have to do is give us their email. So at least we want to capture their email in case they leave without buying anything else. So at least we can start to market to them. So Make will catch that and it's going to come over to Salesforce, but now it's got this issue. Do they exist as a lead already? So it'll try to match up the email and then the phone number. And then, Sierra, of course, will be handling these. If it does not find a lead, it needs to create a new lead. But in any case, it'll be handled by Sierra. Then there's the second option with OpenCart is the customer can place an order, but they can choose guest checkout, which creates the order so that it will sync, but they won't actually have a user account in Salesforce. So no passwords generated. They won't be able to come back in and log back in with that. So it's kind of convenient because it's like one less step of having to create a password. But now over here in Salesforce, it's got to figure out, does this user even exist as a contact? So it's going to try to match the Woo ID. But if there was no Woo ID, let's say they're brand new, it's not an existing customer, then there's no Woo ID. So then it's going to look at their email. Does the email match? If no, it's going to look at the phone. If the phone number doesn't match, well, then it's going to jump over to the lead database of Salesforce, and it's going to see, do they exist? Again, it's got to look through those, Woo, email, phone, Woo ID, email, phone. If it does exist, if it finds it, it's going to convert the lead, and it's going to make the opportunity under that lead, under that new contact that it's converted. Then finally, if it can't find them as a contact, can't find them as a lead, it has to assume that they don't exist in Salesforce. So it will create a new lead and it will convert that lead and it will make the opportunity under that. And then finally, if it's their third option as a new visitor is they can place an order and create an account. So the same thing is going to have to happen here, though. It still won't have a Woo ID initially, but when it does either find them or create the new one, it will put the Woo ID in here. So from now on, it can use the Woo ID as a match. And that's what happens with every existing customer today who places a reorder. It uses the Woo ID to find the match, and they are a match in the contact, and it finds them and it creates the opportunity there. So this creates a lot of sales confusion, which is a big problem for Sierra. Not any fault of hers, but a fault of our system, is that she's not sure how much time she should be spending in all the calling buckets that we have. So with leads, for example, we have zero dials, which means they're brand new and they've never been called. So when they get created as a new lead, there is an field called number of dials, and it starts with zero. So when she makes her first contact, text, email, hopefully she's calling, she changes the number of dials from 0 to 1 and it goes off her list. So there's first zero dials. Then there are people she set callbacks for. It said, hey, I'm too busy now. Call me back Friday at 3 p.m. So she'll set a callback. Then if they're, 30, less than 30 days old, maybe we categorize them as hot, then 30 to 60 days is warm, then cool, and finally cold, right? So there might be thousands of cold leads in here. She's never going to go call these people, but even the zero dials, the callback, I mean, every day she has to get zero dials empty. So she needs to at least acknowledge them. Thank you for putting in a lead form and switch them to one dials. But, for how long should she spend in the hot leads before she moves on to a different bucket? So in addition, she also has to take into account these considerations. We're in Boston, so she doesn't want to call California at 9 a.m. our time and wake them up at 6 a.m. And finally, she doesn't want to call people twice in 24 hours. So if she already dialed them once, she doesn't really have a way to indicate that other than putting in manual notes. So now every time she has to look at the manual notes. Then once she's converted people to leads, well, why did she do that? They promised to buy. So she's going to say, give them Woo shopping cart access, or maybe she's even going to put in a placeholder opportunity for that prospect, but they never did actually buy, even though they promised to buy. So maybe she set a callback for them. Maybe they're hot, maybe they're warm, cool, cold. So for how long should she be on these people before she comes over and starts calling these people? And obviously the same considerations here. Then let's say these are ATs who want a sample. So instead of promising to buy, let's say that they just jump straight to that step and they said, sure, I'll give you my credit card for 10 bucks. So now they've sampled, but they haven't yet bought the full size of bottles. So maybe she set a callback for a week later after they've gotten the samples, or they sampled in the last 30 days, let's say, or she gave them shopping cart access and they actually did buy the samples, something like that. But in any case, for how long should she spend calling in these buckets before the day is over and she just doesn't reach them all? Same thing. So these people are obviously ready to buy on the AT side. On the NT side, the new to tanning, if they attended the 101 class, these are very important because this is where the majority of our sales comes. She's got to follow up with these people. So for how long should she follow up for these people if they don't buy a starter package? How long should she continue to pursue them before she can't handle these people? And then finally, what if they missed the NT? So they paid $349 for a class, but then for whatever reason they no-showed or they said, I need to reschedule. She's got to deal with those people and hopefully get them into the next class. So she only has a limited amount of time during the day to call, and she doesn't know who she should be calling. So as a result, she spends a lot of time calling prospects who are not ready to buy or unqualified. So we need a way to fix that problem. Then we're going to analyze the commission here. So her first time sales, she gets paid first time sales and residual sales. About of her first time sales, you see the overwhelming majority is on new to tanning. So this is the people who want to start training first, then a starter package. So those are what gets qualified as the NT first time sales. Then once they come back and start buying recurring solutions, that's here in the residual sales. Of the NT, we have our classes and we have our starter packages. And you can see that classes only make up 4% of our NT sales, whereas packages make up 96%. So that's really important because what's going to happen with OpenCart is the ATs are most likely just going to buy directly through the shopping cart, through the Woo shopping cart, without going through Sierra as a gatekeeper. So these commissions are likely to just completely disappear for Sierra. On top of it, all the classes will be purchasable by the users by themselves they can self-register, they can self-buy. So those commissions are very likely going away as well. The packages will be on the shopping cart, but my guess is it will need more interaction by the sales rep, by Sierra, in order to close those people. But these commissions are at risk of going away. So Sierra currently gets paid a 42,000 base, and she makes about 50,000 in commission when you add up between first time sales and residual sales. She's also our primary trainer, so separately from this, she gets paid as a contract trainer based on every class she teaches. The way the commissions work is on class tickets. They are, as I mentioned, we sell it for $3.99, but you get this $50 off sales crutch, which I hate the $50 crutch more and more. I don't think that it's being used wisely. I think it's just free money. It's being given out, and that we're not actually doing the proper sales activities that would encourage a customer to buy. It's just sort of tossing the text with the discount code at them, which is not the intent. When I set this up years and years ago, I set it up as a $50 commission on this course, which is a huge commission. The reason I did that is we never sell packages unless they come to the class. They won't come to the class unless we fill it with enough butts in seats that we can run the class. So it's really, really important that we fill the classes with at least 4 people to make it financially viable. If possible, closer to 10 people in the class. I think we average about 6 to 7 per class. And so it's really, really important that that's one of the reasons we've kept the price low intentionally. And we do this big commission for the sales rep. I'm not convinced that this is really motivating the sales rep to be more aggressive in pursuing these customers. So I really need to rethink this. Then on top of it, to get customers, students to buy the package as an extra incentive, we let them apply $99 of their ticket to any starter package. So now instead of $349, you knock $99 off of that. But if they do use the ticket, which they almost $99, which they almost always do, the sales rep has to return $20 of their $50 commission. So their net commission was $30. And on starter packages, they start at $600 and they go up to a little over $1,500. So if the sales rep sells the big package over $1,500, they get a 15% commission. Otherwise, it's a 10% commission. And on residual sales, I do this to just sort of keep sales reps happy and keep them here. And over time, this means after these customers have gone through the first time sale and they have Sierra's thumbprint on their any future order by those customers, she earns a 3% residual on them, which equates to about $6,000 in the last 12 months. That's it.